Hello guys, welcome to this video. Today I'm gonna check the Bless Unleashed PC Steam stress test. Feedback. That's a mouthful. If you'd like to skip it and just watch a gameplay video, I'll make a small review video as well with the stress test footage and all that, so you can just skip this video if you'd rather. I'm only going to be reviewing Reddit and a bit of Twitter and YouTube, just so you guys can get an idea of what people's opinions are. If you prefer, I'll leave the links in the comments section for all these topics, so you don't have to listen to me. But hey, if you would like to listen to my lovely sweet voice, then feel free to stay. For this segment, I'm going to check Bless Unleashed Steam subreddit, Bless Unleashed console subreddit, and our MMORPG, your favorite subreddit. First of all, we'll head over to the Steam subreddit for Bless Unleashed. User Alien Edrickson, sorry if I butchered the name, posted some feedback for the PC stress test, as you can see. He basically mentions how the graphics look good and all of that, and how the game runs well. He understands the limited amount of choices of classes and all that because it's a new MMO. He does like the combat system, but also feels it's clumsy at times. He mentions he liked the combat system. He also mentions he played with a controller, so that makes sense considering Bless Unleashed was built for the console experience. Also mentions about the sound transitions not always being alright in the game, but overall he liked the stress test. As the subreddit's still new, there's not many comments on this topic, so we'll move along to the next one. The next topic is posted by a Lazy Peon fan on Bless Unleashed Steam subreddit as well, where he mentions that the performance is pretty good compared to the old PC game, Bless Online. He also mentions that the servers were pretty stable with all the players on, which you can notice from my video when the servers launched that there was a lot of players on, especially from China. Now the user Ragni commented on this post saying it was difficult to even make a customized looking character. He's absolutely right, it was horrible. The Bless Online customization for characters was far superior. The UI is also horrible. I sort of agree. I don't like it or dislike it, I just wish it was more PC friendly, and I hope they do that in the next CBT. He says the gameplay is completely crap, the races are exactly the same, the weapons are exactly the same, the skills being used is even more confusing than Bless Online, the arm is exactly the same, the controls are laughably horrible, the map is really the only difference. It's exactly like Bless Online except for the fact that they somehow made it worse. I think he's got some points there. I don't fully agree with everything, but I do think that Bless Unleashed is still not at Bless Online's level. The only thing that Bless Online really lacked in my opinion was performance and optimization. Moving along to the Bless Unleashed console subreddit, which naturally doesn't have much opinions on the PC because they only care about the console version on that subreddit. You see somebody asking, he was on holiday, so what do y'all think? Lazy Peon fan mentions the subreddit for PC to the user and indicates that in his opinion, so far from what he's seen, it's a 50-50, which I agree. Green Night King says he liked playing the stress test. Medifera says it's a free-to-play game, so you can give it a try. But the game is not made for PC, it has many problems such as UI, camera, controls, combat, racial and class lock and many others, so it feels like a crash grab. I understand totally where the person's coming from. On which the user Jack Rafe replies, or you could plug in a controller, as the game was designed. User Eraser mentions, how is racial and class lock an issue? In this small discussion, I agree with both sides. I do agree that if you plug in a controller, as the game was intended to be played, your issues go away naturally and you get the performance of PC. But I also fully agree with Medifera when she mentions that the game is not made for PC, and I really hope that the developers are listening to all the feedback online and actually prepare the game for the CBT. One last one from the Bless Unleashed subreddit, a user posted how the aspect ratio compares with Bless Unleashed. So you can see 16:9, 21:9, and 32:9, so the ultra-wide master race seems pretty satisfied with the game. Moving along, we go to everybody's favorite subreddit on Reddit, it's our MMORPG. For those of you who don't know, this subreddit is basically where everybody hates on every game because, well, they either played it or they hate the company behind them, which is understandable. But it definitely has some good places in the comments once we ignore those few posts that are just looking for karma. The user PeterForever98 posted his review for Bless Unleashed as someone who hated the original Bless. He states the following: character creation is a downgrade from the original Bless. Classes locked to max 2 races, some to even just 1. The combat is fun for 10 minutes then it gets boring. Controls are awful. Graphics are meh, especially the textures, lightning and shadow. Running animation looks like it was made by a 15-year-old. Almost all NPCs look ugly. Game feels as lifeless as before. The forced combat camera is garbage. They completely butchered one of the few things he actually liked, which was the capitals, which was Hierophant and Spezia. They wanted a stress test, but server load is on low on the server selections at the time that he checked. So we'll scroll down and look into the comments. First comment is simply someone looking for karma, so we ignore that. The user's Milline reply to him, where he mentions the problem is not Bless but Neowiz. If you don't like this type of games created by a-holes who cares more about money than the community passional, then the best thing to do is not touching the game and just not buying anything from them. Moving along, user Neverland T replies that it's a scam as usual, all that stuff, and that Bandai Namco states they have nothing to do with the PC version again and again. Stay away and be safe. Which he gets replied by user 9axle5 that I won't buy this game, but calling people blatantly idiots and a game scam sounds just a little overboard. And I agree. And Lazy Peon fan replies as well, yet Bandai are publishing it on PS4 just now. They stated that because Neowiz simply didn't negotiate or give them a chance to publish it on PC. Why have a middleman on a platform you know how to publish on? I agree with these two last users' reply, honestly. Like, you shouldn't be calling people names just because they like certain products or something. Let's be frank, what's the worst that can happen? It's a free-to-play game. If you don't like it, you don't pay them a single penny. Sure, there's sometimes comments that you read online and you think of that, but there's just no point in calling people names. And regarding Lazy Peon fans' comments, I also agree. I'm pretty sure Bandai would have loved to publish a PC game, but they weren't given the chance to. We wouldn't mind publishing the game. It's free money at the end of the day, and they already published 2 of the other versions, so the only reason that they have to state that they're not connected to the PC version is pretty obvious. They're not connected to it. The user False Adhesiveness 5 mentions that he too tried the game and here's his take. You should try the game out yourself if it even slightly interests you. OP doesn't even slightly try to put the game in a positive light, so people here saying thanks confirmed everything I thought is pretty dumb. In which he gets answered, that's the goal for the original poster. It's like the posts on Steam without the game in the library. We know they didn't try out the original or the current Bless. Yep. Moving down, they discuss how many versions of Bless there have been so far, and it gets listed. Mostly correct. It is, however, missing out on Bless Eternal, the Chinese mobile game, which sadly is regional locked, so I guess that's why. Keep scrolling down and the user the Gladex mentions, I generally do not get the combat complaints. When I was watching videos and hearing YouTubers talk about it, they made it sound like the combat is literally the worst unusable thing, but I genuinely haven't had any issues with it. It's kind of exactly like the original Bless combat. It's tough but doable when you're alone, but quite fun and impactful when you're in a group. Timing your dodges and attacks is important, especially when fighting tougher mobs since they will kill you quite easily if you don't pay attention. It's hardly perfect and could use extra tweaking to make the flow between combats a bit better, but other than that, I generally don't see any issue with it. To which he gets replied, people just want to do 50 abilities in the span of 3 seconds for a game to feel impactful. I also replied to this user actually. I mentioned that I don't like the combat fully, but I don't get the combat complaints either. It's similar to other games offline and online, and I don't find it that weird at all. Another user mentions you just have to get into the slower start the combo, commit to the combo approach, kinda like in Monster Hunter's combat. I agree. Moving down, forced camera didn't see that, not everyone's got a key, graphics are actually nice, combat is so yes, but it's okay, controls are like in most games. People reading should really try for themselves or watch gameplay. There ain't much out there in terms of good MMOs, and this is a free to play with action combat. Pretty much, it's gonna be free to play, just try it yourselves guys. Look for it, honestly. No need to listen to me even. Dulce's replies, controls are fully rebindable. Graphics are fine for the frame rates you get. Running animations look fine compared to many other games. There is no forced combat camera unless you lock on, which you do not need to do. I'm glad you spent 10 minutes trying to understand the game well beyond your IQ level, and then made a shit post about it. Enjoy the karma. P.S. Server load was quite high for the first 6 hours of the test. I agree with him. Honestly, 10 minutes is not enough to make your opinion on a game, and I wouldn't be reviewing this if I only played the game for 10 minutes either, so yeah. This whole video, just me talking, is probably gonna be longer than 10 minutes. Another user asks where the controls are rebindable. He looked for over 10 minutes and he couldn't find them and gave up on the game on PC. To which he got answered to that you had to get past the tutorial, which he then questions, what kind of game design is that? And I agree, it should have been in the tutorial, the settings. It's actually bad game design. Then there's another hate comment, then there's another positive comment. The hive mind of Bless Hate is hilarious. Everything this guy said is wrong. Surprisingly, he said the combat was good for the first 10 minutes when the combat is arguably the worst part of the game. The servers were filled and the starting zone had hundreds of players and they were fighting a boss called Wolf King, and the game ran way too smoothly. I don't think OP played the game to get out of the tutorial to see actual players lol. It was packed as fuck, probably because there was so many Chinese playing it. To which a user replies, OP must be a fan of MMO by 10-minute review hype. Yep. Scrolling down more stuff, a user mentions that you're not helping the game a lot by saying the combat is the worst thing. I disagree because you should be able to criticize stuff, positive and negative. As long as people actually play something and try it out, I'm fine with both. User Jerk69 mentions Bless EU was fine, problem was the optimization and pay to win. Bless Korea was better because of EU's new good fighting system was awfully shit. Bless Korea is to be honest a good game, just memory leaks etc. I wish I could play Bless Online Korea without pay to win. I agree, I kind of like the Korean and Japanese versions more than the version we got in the West. And scrolling down, there's more things mentioning about how ugly the character models are. I agree, they definitely need to be worked on. The biggest sin in this controls, it's fucking 2020, smooth movements is a fucking bare minimum. I think it's just a matter of them tuning the game to PC experience honestly. It was designed for console and they really need to just look into making it more PC friendly. Moving down, there's just more negative comments about the game. But what we can get from it is that the game definitely needs a UI redesign. Moving on to other posts so I don't make this video too long. User Accounting mentions Bless Unleashed. Crazy to see so many hate for this game here. Yes, Bless and Neowiz hurt you. Sorry you got hyped and then disappointed. No, you don't have to play Bless Unleashed. No, you don't have to support the creators, those who bought the publishing rights, etc. But objectively speaking, I've been starting the game on Xbox One, and the worst thing about this game is the reviews. Combat is fun, it's more calculating. Number 2. PvE, at least at the start, was difficult. You don't just auto-regen health, it's more like Dark Souls. Heal at pyres, drink potions, etc. You get jumped by a few early bosses and they're actually hard. You'll die if you mess up. That's a nice change of pace for an MMO. The only time it got easy is when the game in-game mailed me some strong items. The story seems pretty meh, Eastern, whatever. Not much at all for voice acting, seemingly generic storyline. Pretty hard to pay attention to care about, actually. 4. There seems to be some interesting systems, but won't know till much later. 5. Graphics and performance are shockingly good. I'm quite surprised how well the game is running for the graphics, a common theme review item I hear. Bless Online fucked every 10 times over or whatever. I don't know. I stopped getting hyped for MMOs years ago. The game is not objectively bad. It's not objectively awesome. It's pretty fun and seems like something I'll casually play here and there because the whole genre is so terribly stale. It looks like it has a ton of potential with the combat to be varied and interesting with bosses, dungeons, raids, etc. Take it for what you will. This game isn't doing anything crazy new or cool, but I'd say it's a new upgraded Neverwinter, Nights of Terror. If you have any potential interest in it, I'd say try it out. You have nothing to lose but your time, but if you want to get into an MMO, you must have a lot of time anyway. I agree. The game's not special, but it's not as bad as people say either. Going into the comments, a quote from another post about the number of times the game has been launched. Then another comment mentions, if you actually played the stress test that happened recently, you'd understand why no one cares nor is excited for this. It looks like trash, it plays like a bootleg version of Bless Online, and was constantly low pop during the stress test, in this user's opinion. The game has a small fanatical fanbase who will castrate you if you so much speak ill of their bootleg game. Bless Unleashed deserves every bit of criticism and hate. I agree and disagree. I like the original game, so you could include me in the fan base if you really want to, but I'm not really a fan. And I don't think Bless Unleashed deserves the criticism it gets, honestly. The only thing I agree fully is that the controls are not made for PC and it really needs a redesign for computer, but that's about it, guys. The game's not the best game and it's not the worst game. You just have to accept it. Bless Online deserved all the criticism and hate, but Bless Unleashed is a new product and you should judge it as a new product. Other users mention you can't trust the publisher because of how fast the other game went down. Another user mentions that he saw a few clips of Bless before release and a lot of people I was playing with would have traded a kidney for the game. Never thought it looked different than other generic MMOs personally. If Unleashed is free, I'll probably try it out for a bit. I agree, and some people really overhype games for no reason when they're just normal generic games, and that's what Bless Unleashed is, honestly. It's gonna be free, so try it if you want, don't try it if you don't. So basically a lot of comments on how it's generic and all that, and how Neowiz is the enemy. Another user mentions that the original game's only problem was not pay to win, it was just optimization, and he's right. The original Bless didn't have any pay to win issues, it was all about optimization. Moving on to another post, to not make this too long. User GladX posts first impressions of Bless Unleashed. I'm honestly not sure if anyone wants to hear this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The game is not bad, like at all. I wouldn't strictly call it good, but all things considered, it was a fairly enjoyable, if a bit tired, experience. It felt like an old MMO with some refreshed mechanics, enemies hit hard, health didn't regenerate on its own, combat was slow and a tad static, but it was enjoyable. It had issues, a lot of them, mainly around the PC UI being barely usable. The game world was very bland and corridor-like. The combat had very rigid animation locks that require each animation to finish before hitting the next attack. There was noticeable server delay. The mounts felt dreadful to control. There were numerous copy and pasted NPCs, low-res textures, the cities were fairly maze-like and closed off, and there were many geometry issues present. That being said, the game performed amazingly well. Open world boss fights with 30 plus people spamming attacks on day 1 didn't drop me below 60 on max settings, and the server seemed stable. The combat effects and hit felt meaty, and the fact that you couldn't just spam a combo on an enemy made pulling off the high damage stuff fairly satisfying to do. The gearing looked promising, though I didn't get to play long enough to get a full grasp of the system. I also really liked a lot of the animations. I feel they're very lively and expressive. The gearing looked promising, though I didn't get to play long enough to get a full grasp of the system. I also really liked a lot of the animations. I feel they're very lively and expressive. On many fronts, I would actually say Bless Unleashed is weaker than Bless Online. I think the original game had a cooler and more memorable world, with more freedom of movement, a cool pet system, and more skills to use in combat, but I also wouldn't discount Unleashed, as for all the flaws it did have I generally had a lot of fun with it. The game still has a few months before the PC release to iron out some extra kinks in the UI. If they do iron them out, I see the game being a fun free-to-play MMO. If you disliked Bless, you might like this more. If you liked Bless, you might be disappointed in this game. Either way, I think you should give it a go when it's fully out to play and judge it as its own thing. I fully agree. It's a well said post, honestly. Another person complains about the producer developers due to Bless Online. And another person asks, how is this different to Bless Online? I assumed it was just a re-release, in which it gets answered. It's basically a different game, reusing the assets of Bless. The enhancing, leveling, combat and worlds are all different. Towards another user replies, don't assume, get informed, this is a completely new game. I fully agree. Don't just assume stuff, don't just go for memes, this goes for every game online. Moving on, a post from user VistelEat mentions that Bless Unleashed seems to be pretty good, just came off the stress test, didn't go below 80 FPS even in populated towns, and even reach 120 FPS away from towns. No survey issues, UI seem pretty polished, towns and armors look cool. I don't know guys, I was very positively surprised with it. The way the combo system and UI is made, it definitely tailored to be played with a controller. Combat feels very similar to the New World and Dark Souls with the dodging. If you have a controller laying around and enjoyed playing New World, definitely try this game out. There should be a CBT soon as there's not many issues with the stress test. Well, I didn't really enjoy New World honestly bro, but fair enough. I do have a controller laying around and I can definitely say the game did feel more comfortable while playing with the controller than the mouse and keyboard, but I do hope they work on the mouse and keyboard mode because the game's not going to succeed if it's just controller friendly on a PC. It needs to be PC friendly on a PC. So that's it from my Reddit check. I'm now gonna just search the game on YouTube and see what videos are posted this week. Checking the list, you can see there's gameplay first looks from Mike Fringe. Lucums, which is a partner for the console version, posts the first look at the PC. Kira TV posts on the 2 weeks head start is a joke regarding the PlayStation 4's founder packs. Then there's more stress test footage here, and that's about it. No big content creators yet have posted about the game this week because it was just a stress test, but I do expect there to be more content, especially next month. Moving on to Discord suggestions and feedback. Most of the feedback was based on the camera, the UI, and quality of life changes based on the fact that it's a console port to PC, so I honestly think they have a good chance of fixing things. Also, some people complain about the combat being too slow, but that's always been an issue with Bless for many people, and honestly, you either like it or hate it. There's no other way around it, it's like every MMO. So yeah, to sum it up really, across all platforms, the feedback is pretty consistent. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are neutral about it and waiting to see more. I'm in that camp personally. I don't believe it's the best game, I don't believe it's the worst game. In its current state, it would not make me want to play it for more than a week or two. So I'm going to wait till the CBT in November and see what improvements the game will get, and hopefully it will attract me to it. That's it from me guys, I hope you guys liked the video. Give me a like and subscribe if you liked it. Dislike it if you don't. But then again, if you reached all the way here, I don't know. Peace!